Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got some special guests in the building.
That's right.
We got the OG, the icon, the legend, Rodney Jerkins, celebrating 30 years of Dog Child. He's inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
That's big.
Congratulations. Yeah. And he also brought his new artist, John Keith.
Hey.
Welcome. How you feeling, first and foremost?
I'm good, bro. I'm good.
You good?
I'm blessed. Yeah,
John
blessed.
Keith, no pressure, but Rodney has sold over 500 million records worldwide. He's worked with Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, Beyonce, Brandy, Justin Bieber, SZA, Sam Smith, just to name a few. So no pressure. No pressure, okay?
Easy work.
Yeah.
So how you feeling, first and foremost? Well, we got to get to, I like to bring, when we have icons and legends like you, I like to start from the beginning. Now, you from Atlantic City.
Yes, sir.
From Atlantic City. And how did you get into music? What made you say, I want to be a producer? And then being from Atlantic City, anybody from Atlantic City will tell you, it's very difficult to get out there. How did you get out there where people started hearing your beats and you started selling some stuff?
My mom was a housekeeper. So she would go and she would take care of other people's houses, and she would hear these little kids playing piano or being taught. She was like, I need this guy to teach my son. So I'm 5 years old. I didn't want to play the piano, to be honest, but my dad had a house rule. You got to play piano to live under this roof.
Damn.
So all our siblings play. We all play. I took the lessons, and probably when I was about 10, 11, I discovered, like, I wanted to be a producer. I heard Michael Jackson's album, and then I started, kind of, back in the day, you read the credits.
Yeah,
Teddy
of course.
Riley was someone that I really admired. I saw Teddy Riley on a lot of credits, and I'm like, yo, I want to do this. I need to do this. So back in the day, there was a magazine called Black Beat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I saw an interview, and it said it had all the top producers, Pete Rock, everybody, and it was like, we use the MPC to make the beats.
MPC 60 back then, right?
MPC 60, and I was like, I need this. Can't afford that. My dad borrowed $1,200 off his life insurance, got the MPC for me, and we going.
Random question. How was it growing up in Atlantic City? Because I love Atlantic City because my daughter does a lot of cheerleading competitions. Yeah. And for some reason, when I go out there, I just get a good peace of mind. Like I go out there and write and all types of stuff. How was it growing up there as a child?
It was hard because there was no outlet. Mm-hmm. There was no studios there. Mm-hmm. There was no outlet for music. So I had to get on New Jersey Transit, taking that 2.5 an hour bus ride pretty much every other day just to try to get put on.
Wow. To New York?
But let me tell you, I got discovered by Teddy Riley at the Impact Convention.
Where was that at?
Atlantic City.
Wow. Break that down.
So he heard a demo that I produced. He wasn't really into the guy singing the demo, but he was like, yo, this producer is dope. So the manager told me, I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, Teddy Riley heard it. We need to go see him. He's like, where's he at? I said, well, the credits say he's in Virginia Beach. So we got to go to Virginia Beach. My dad was like, that's like a 6-hour drive. Mm-hmm. Like, whatever, let's go. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we hop in the car, we hop in the van, the church van, because my dad's a pastor. Hop in the church van, we go to Virginia Beach, stand in Teddy Riley's. We was in his parking lot probably for like half the day.
Now, for people that don't know, Teddy Riley's from Harlem. He built this huge studio in Virginia Beach, and it was beautiful. Everybody worked there from Pharrell to Bobby Brown to Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we go there in the parking lot, we just waiting for him to show up, and then finally he shows up like 6-7 hours later. Pull up on him. I'm like, I'm the kid that produced. I'm like literally 14 years old. I'm like, you just heard my beat. He was like, that was you? And I was like, yeah. He was like, come on, come in the studio. From then, rest is history.
Jeez.
Wow.
And so now that I'm getting inducted, and Teddy Riley's the one inducted me.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Where did the famous Dark Child come from? Where did you get that?
I just, it was really, the name itself came from the style that I felt that I was creating. I love dark minor chords. I was youthful. I'm a young kid, so I kind of took those words and played with it. Yeah. But then I just started saying it. I didn't know that I was really one of the first ones, probably maybe the first one doing a producer tag.
Producer tag, yeah.
I didn't know it at the time because I was just like, I was just trying to brand myself. Yeah. In a way, because I wasn't the type that wanted to be like him and be on the microphone rapping all the time. Even though I could spit a little bit, but I didn't want to do that. So I was like, how they gonna know who did the record? So I was like, Dark Child. I would say it, and then what happened was the artist started to say it. Yeah. So like Tony Braxton sang it, and then Whitney said it, and then Michael said
Jackson.
it, and then her said it. Like they just started saying it. So I was like, yo, I ain't gotta say it no more. Let them say it.
I love that.
Was that like a producer beat camp, really? Because it was y'all, it was you, Pharrell, Neptunes. And it was a bunch of y'all. So how was working in that beat camp? Because you have producers, you're learning from an icon, but y'all all became your own in your own separate ways.
Yeah, I think that's what was special about being in VA is like Teddy's studio. Like you wanted to get into his room and see what he was doing, right? And when I came, Pharrell and them was already there. So I was the one that had to really kind of wait for my turn because they was already down there. And it was kind of like Teddy was cool because he wasn't like signing nobody. So it was more so just like, yo, you here? Let me hear what you got. So I'll be in there and I'm just waiting for my shot. And then eventually he'd be like, all right, come in, little bro. And then you press play and it's just like, all right, cool, we're going to get to work. And that's how it kind of happened.
How many hits did you make back then that you didn't get the credit for?
I got credit for my hits.
Oh, all of them? Okay.
I always think, so it's funny you say that though, right? I always look at like how people do their business and whatever's wrong with their business is not going to be wrong with my business. So there's a lot of mistakes that I would see in the industry, and I'd be like, y'all allow that to happen. That can't happen to me. You know, and I've learned to play in a position of fair with my artists. I've learned to be, I want to be one of those dudes where when you know, like, oh, you did a deal with him, you got a good deal.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of producers now that's blown up came from my camp.
Like who?
D-Mile. Tommy Brown, like these are like the people who did. D-Mile just did, I think, every Bruno Mars record that you can think of.
Oh wow!
You know,
Yeah, them guys did producer tags.
Silk Sonic.
Yeah, they need producer
Yeah.
tags. I don't know any of the new.
Because we don't read the
producers.
credits anymore like that. You know what I mean? Because you stream. You don't get the...
They don't even understand what it means. They don't even understand what it means. Like, man, I think we were in a different day. Right back in the day, it was a producer-driven industry. It wasn't file sharing. So I wasn't sending you a file. Like I'm in the studio with Michael. I'm in the studio with him. I'm doing their vocals with them. I'm coaching them. Now it's just like, yo, send the files and we're gonna cut that tonight and send it back to you. And
Now you got to break that down.
Even personal engagement, like it's none of that. It's
not at all. Not at all. I think that's where the game is lost. I think there's a lot of producers and artists that don't even know each other.
Yeah.
And it's
Just send the beat over.
and here's the difference too. Remember, like when credits was a thing.
That's right.
Well, credits was a thing, but it was also a thing where you might only saw 3 to 4 names on a song. The only time you saw multiple names is when someone sampled. Now you see 10, 15 names on a record. You like, dang, like who wrote what?
yeah.
Like nobody can. There's no real identity of a songwriter anymore or of a producer anymore because there's so many names, so we don't know who did what.
Isn't a lot of that have to do with samples sometime though?
That's what I'm saying. This back in the day it did. Now, no.
Wow.
Now it's just because you've been file sharing. So it's like if I'm working on the track and I started and I'm like, oh, this is dope. Let me send it to him. And then he's like, yo, this is dope, but I think I could do a better 808. The minute that he has his 808, he's now a co-producer.
Right.
And then he sends it over to him. He like, yeah, this is fire, but yo, what if we add this pad? As soon as he had that pad, now he's a producer. Now you got 3 producers versus the one. When I started out, every song that I did, I produced. So you're talking about 50% of the publishing is mine right out the gate.
Right.
That's how it starts with every record, 50%. Now when I look at splits now, I be seeing the producer like 7%, 5%, 10%. I'm like, yo, what happened?
Yeah.
You know? So I'm blessed to know the time that I came up in. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Now I gotta ask. Now you just glazed over Michael Jackson. Talk about how you started working with Michael Jackson. How was that call, and how was he in the studio? Because you were actually in the studio with him.
The greatest artist I've ever worked with, hands down. Like, and you know, Mike was so special and different that he pushed you to limits like you can't even imagine. Like I remember him telling me, you got to get exhausted in the music. I'm like, what? Like I ain't know what. I'm 21 years old. So you're talking about a 21-year-old kid working with Michael Jackson.
How did they call? How was that? How did he reach out?
Oh, it called. Yo, this is real crazy. It called from a dream.
What?
It happened from it happened from a dream.
Oh.
I was in my
I
mom.
heard you say that before.
I was in my mom and dad's house on the couch. Took a nap, and I had a dream. Literally had this dream that I was pulling up to this studio with glass windows, and I saw Michael Jackson in a red shirt, that red shirt with the black pants in the window. I woke up from the dream, told my mother and father the dream I just had. The phone rings like 10 minutes later. Lady by the name of Carol Bayer Sager calls. You probably don't even know what that is. She wrote That's What Friends Are For.
Okay.
It's the older lady, whatever. She said, I had Say My Name Out at the time by Destiny's Child. She goes, Rodney, I love this song you have out. I want to know if you would love to come to my house and work this week. And I was like, I didn't even know who she was. She was like, I'm working with Michael Jackson. I was like, where? She's like, Bel Air. I was like, I'm in Jersey, but I'm out.
I'm in Jersey, but I'm out.
I'm going for real. I got on the plane and I stayed in a hotel until she called me. She called me on Thursday, 4 days later, and was like, can you come to the house today? I'm like, yeah, I came. I kid you not, man. I'm pulling up the driveway. I look to the left. I see Michael Jackson in the window with the red shirt.
Damn.
Staring out the window.
Wow.
Just like the dream, bro. And I was like, nobody can't tell me God ain't real.
Have you ever told him that? Did you tell him that?
100%. I'm literally told. I'm like, and, you know, he believes in stuff like that.
Yeah,
all
what
the
did he
time.
say?
He
Wow,
was like, yeah,
thank you so
that
much.
was how it was supposed to happen.
Is that how you said
That's
it
how
like
it's
that?
supposed to happen.
Damn.
Mike's voice is actually deeper than that.
I bet it
He
is.
actually-
I've been
hearing that.
That's how it's supposed to. You know, he a little deeper than that, right? But it was true. Like I just feel like God just went, like, he showed me exactly how it was going to be, so I can have the story to be able to tell him one day how it was supposed to be.
Damn.
I want to say envy is it's glossed over, not glazed
He
over.
definitely said
Even though Michael
glazed over
Jackson
Michael
deserves
Jackson.
all the glazing because he's the greatest of all time, it's glossed over.
Glossed over.
Jesus
My man
Christ.
is
It's all right.
crazy. Crazy.
Now talk about MJ, working with MJ. How was that?
Amazing, but he worked me hard, bro. He's different. Like he would call 3-4 o'clock in the morning, be like, can I hear what you're working on over the phone?
Wow.
And I'd be like, I'm actually not working right now. I'm actually trying to take a nap because I've been up for 30 hours. No, well, can you go to the studio right now and play? Like, he's like that. So I get up and drive to the studio and play him. And Mike was so crazy with it that this was crazy. I would play him on the phone. He'd be like, can you turn the hi-hats down 3 dBs? And then make sure make sure they're panned to the left. And I'd be like, really? He goes, yes. And I would be bugging, and the only thing I could think of, right, which is just crazy, right? Michael Jackson was taught by Barry Gordy,
Quincy Jones.
Quincy Jones, Teddy Riley. So that school, I'm a part of that school now,
Yeah.
right? And I'm getting what he learned from Barry Gordy and Quincy Jones. So I'm taking it all in, I'm learning. But dude was incredible, bro. Like, and a great person. Like, you know, we used to bet DVDs. We played pool together. And
Bet DVDs.
Bet DVDs. I used to bet him. He beat me because I scratched, and we go shopping right here in Virgin Music Store on Times Square.
He would walk in there with you?
Bro, he put the disguise on. We went there, and I had to buy the DVDs. A lot of people don't know this. I took Michael to Rucker Park.
In disguise.
Watch basketball?
No one knows this. Y'all know it now. But when we did Rock My World, Michael kept saying, we need to go to a club and test it out. And I was like, I got one better. I said, I'm going to take this spot called Rucker Park. And I didn't let him get out the car, but I just wanted him to feel the energy. So I went to Rucker Park, and I played the record. And they was going crazy. They didn't know that Mike, the window was cracked the whole time.
Yeah.
They didn't know Mike was in the car.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And I'm going to tell you how cool we got. This is how cool we got. I'm in Manhattan one time. I could sense that every time I'm with Mike, he's in the skies. When he goes out, like, it's always that. One day I was like, yo, hey, Mike, I'm coming to pick you up. He was like, why? I was like, just be ready. I'm coming to pick you up. I had a blue Peacock Bentley convertible. I dropped the top. I pull up to his apartment, and I say, yo, Mike, come out. He's like, let me get Skip. Skip was his security guard. It's like, no. Come out.
You're trying to kill Michael.
Listen,
Yeah, man.
I'm trying to kill him. I'm trying to let him see what I knew he wanted to see, right? And I knew no one would do that for him but me. He gets in my car. I put the windows up, but the top is off. And I remember this day because that was the day that Hot 97 was playing the Janet Jackson Blackstreet record that just came out. And it came on, and I'm playing Hot 97. I'm rolling through Manhattan with Michael. And he's going crazy. He's just loving the fact.
Yeah.
When we got back to the apartment, he looked at me and said, he's like, thank you. And I'm just like, yo, this is what it's about.
Wow.
I wasn't trying to get him killed. I was just trying to let him see reality because he ain't seen it in so long. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and that spills over into our production. That spills over to Rock My World. It spills over to what we're trying to create because you have to still have a sense of what's going on, or you can't really create from a real place.
You know, I want to ask you as a
That's dope.
producer, like, you know, you talk about Michael Jackson, you worked with him, you worked with Whitney, you worked with Brandy, Beyonce. What's something they all had in common in the studio that separated them from everybody else?
Tenacity, patience. You're talking about artists that focused on making albums, which is another art form that we've lost a little bit, right? It wasn't about like just the single. It was about like how to make a great album. I feel like a lot of them sometimes got caught up in trying to compete with themselves, especially Michael.
Yeah.
Like he was overly trying to compete with himself.
You'll never beat Thriller. That's,
How could you?
yeah.
You know what I mean? But he believed he would, right? He believed he could, he believed he would, which is crazy to think about it, right? If Michael was alive or was doing what he was doing in the streaming world, I believe he could have beat it.
Really?
Yeah. I believe he could have beat it.
But you know what's interesting with an album like Thriller or any artist, what are you trying to beat? Are you trying to beat yourselves, or are you just trying to be better musically? I would think you just would want to be better musically.
I don't think so. I think someone like Michael got obsessed with knowing the numbers that he did was so high that he wasn't competing against anyone else anymore. Musically, it wasn't a race with Prince anymore. It wasn't all. He's like, I already beat you. Now I'm trying to beat me, right? And how I know this to be factual was because he didn't say that. He would say, I think there's a day where I could do 1 billion sales. He literally would say that.
Damn.
So that lets me know that he's racing for that. He's racing for a number.
Wow.
And he had to, because in his mind, he was like, how do you stay hungry? How do you stay, when you're the greatest, like, how do you get up for the fight? Like, you know, a lot of great fighters lose fights because they just can't get up for the fight anymore. Because they've done, that's why you gotta give props to someone like a Floyd Mayweather. You gotta be like, yo, this dude stay hungry, like no matter what. Some people get to 40-0, 42-0, and they ready just, I'm done with it. I'm not putting in that time no more. He was super competitive. He was super competitive with me, meaning like he would challenge me and tell me like, yo, that producer over there, he's coming for you. He would tell me this, like, I'd be like, you crazy. If you think he got a chance to get on this project, you out of your mind. That's how we talked.
But he liked that.
And the coldest thing I saw Mike do was a friend of mine. He ran EMI Publishing, Big John, Big John Platt.
Who's the Big John?
Big John Platt is the CEO of Sony Music Publishing now.
Yep.
But at the time he was running EMI, he wanted to meet Mike. So I took Mike to EMI to meet him. I went to go make sure everything was okay. Inside, I came back out, Mike was gone. And there was a van parked in the spot. I'm like, yo, what happened? Where'd he go? The guy got off the van and said Mike wanted some fried chicken. So he went up the block to Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Go get some chicken.
That's how he was. That's how he was. And what was crazy was, y'all ever hear the story about Jay-Z doing the Summer Jam, bringing Michael out?
Of course.
Which
I've
story?
heard that.
That's because of me.
Yeah, we've heard stories, but which story?
No. He brought Michael out at Summer Jam.
Yep.
That doesn't happen without me introducing him to Michael.
Well, break it down. Yeah, how do
Jay-Z wants to meet Michael Jackson. So my man Big Chuck, Big John, all of them call me like, yo, can you introduce Jay to Mike? I'm like, yeah, I didn't even know Jay yet. I'm like, yeah, I got him. Bring him to the studio. That was the first time I seen Jay kind of in just a very chill,
Yeah.
like, yo,
Like
this
kinda
Michael
look
Jackson.
sauce.
This
Yeah.
Michael Jackson. I introduced him to Michael. We had a great conversation. We talking. Next thing you know, a couple months later, he calls Michael to do Summer Jam. Mike does it.
Is that Michael on the Girls remix?
There's a version with him.
That's what on one of the remixes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask.
Hold on, finish the story. You can finish.
No, it was just like, I think like it was funny because I was just there trying to introduce, I think even 50 Cent, it was just, I was introducing him to people that wanted to meet him and that he wanted to meet. Mike was a diehard 50 fan at the time. Like no other rapper mattered to Michael.
They're 50.
50 and Biggie.
I was going to ask you.
And
Wow.
Biggie was gone. Biggie was gone. I remember Michael used to do crazy challenges with me. I remember I was working on this song called Unbreakable. And as I'm finishing it, Michael goes, we need Biggie on it. As if he was alive. That's the way he spoke. And I was like, what you mean? He was like, I want Biggie on this. So I'm like, yo, how am I gonna get like, you know what I mean? I'm like, and then I realized I had like an acapella for something that he did with Shaq back in the day. And I was like, okay, I'm going to use this and see if I can time and get it right. And I got it in there. And he was like, okay, good. We good now. I got Biggie.
But they work together in real life too, though. Oh, I always see that picture. I don't know if it's real or not.
I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know he Biggie and 50 was the two people he constantly talked about.
Can you imagine Michael Jackson wilding the What Up Gangster?
Damn.
Yes.
Low key, yeah.
From what Rodney just saying, yes, I can imagine that.
I'm interested in, I was going to ask you about this, but I want to ask you about it now. I'm interested in your visions, right? You just told us the vision you had about Michael, and I heard the vision you had about Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Has Michael or Whitney visited you in any of your
Whitney
visions?
Houston sang at my dad's church in Pleasantville, New Jersey. A little church with 50 people in it. Called me up one day.
I think Charlamagne in a dream, but I love
meant
this
in the
story.
dream,
Go
like
ahead.
in one of your visions, yeah.
Has say it again. Say it. Repeat.
Have they visited you in a vision? Like
Oh,
a dream?
you saying since?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Michael for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Michael for sure.
Anything you want to share? Or?
Not as much Whitney, but Michael for sure. Just lied. It just be like I'm back in the lab with Michael creating. And the crazy thing is when I've had that dream, which has happened a few times, it was something like musically incredible. And when I got up, I couldn't remember what I was creating. But in the dream, it was like, whoa. It didn't sound like anything from here.
Yeah.
Now, you was talking about Whitney coming to your dad's church.
Yeah, so me and Whitney bonded. When I worked with her, spiritually we bonded. And one day she just called me out the blue and she was just like, we had just finished working together. Album that came out. She was like, hey, what you doing, Dark Child? early Sunday morning. I was like, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. What you mean, what am I doing? She goes, I want to go to church today. And I was like, okay. And she's like, no, I want to go to your church. And I was like, my church is like 2.5 hours from Mendham, New Jersey. She was like, I'm on my way. And she pulled up to church. It was like she pulled up and she sang. She whispered in my ear. She was like, tell your daddy I want to sing.
Wow.
What year was this?
This is like 1998 or 9.
Wow.
And crazy, she sang, killed it. But here, 3 months before she passed away, she called me up. I ain't talked to her in like probably 5 years. She called me, said, I need to see you. I said, what's up? She goes, we need to pray together. She's like, where you at? I said, I'm at my studio in Hollywood. She goes, I'm on my way. She came all the way down from Newport Beach, wherever she was living at the time, literally came in the studio, and next thing you know, it turned into like a church service in the studio, just 3 months before she passed away.
Wow.
So we've always had that, like some of that type of connection.
Now you also talked about the competition between Prince and Michael, right? Was it the competition where you couldn't work for Prince because Mike had his people, Prince had his people? How serious was that competition? Because we hear stories all the time.
Mike definitely stopped me from working with a lot of people at that time.
Like who?
Just a lot of artists. A lot of artists was calling me to work at that time, and Mike was just like, I'll pay you not to work with them.
Jesus.
That's crazy.
Yeah, she was like, he was like, I need you. And it wasn't a thing. It wasn't a thing of I'll pay you not to work with them because they're not good or anything like that. It was more so I need you here, focused and locked in on what we're doing.
You know, we always hear the conspiracy theories, like, you know, they be like, oh, Bill Cosby was trying to buy NBC. Michael's the only person I believe they really tried to railroad like that because of what he did with the publishing in the music industry.
He talked about it all the time. He talked about it all the time. One thing I will say is that in the studio, he would always talk about how he lived in a certain fear. And I used to always try to reel him in a direction like, yo, you only supposed to fear God. Man shouldn't have you feeling like that. No man should have you living in that space. But he lived in that space a lot because he felt like he had something that was so valuable, which he did. He had something so valuable that people wanted.
He owned like half of Sony ATV's publishing, right?
Yeah, I think what people have confused, I'm glad you said it that way, because I think people have confused the narrative. People for so long have said, Michael owned the Beatles catalog.
I heard that.
No, Michael owned Sony ATV.
That's right.
Which is Babyface, Mariah, the Beatles.
Beyonce.
Probably some of my catalog was in there.
Isn't
You
that
feel
like half
me?
the
Like-
music industry?
Yes, like, I mean, you got 3 giants, right? At the time, you had 3 giants, and Sony was pretty much the biggest out the 3 at that time. And they did a deal with him that, you know, forever he felt that they wanted back. You know what I'm saying? And
You think they threw all those cases at Michael because they wanted it back?
I think it could have had something to do with it. I'm not going to say exactly that, but it could have had something to do with it. But I believe none of it. because I was around Mike all the time and I knew the kind of person he was. So I'm like, they really trying to kill his character.
Yeah, I don't believe
And
it.
he would say it, like, he'd be like, they just can't stand that I'm the greatest. He would literally say that. He would literally say that. They just can't stand that I'm the greatest.
How was his mind frame during that time? Did he feel like the culture, especially black people, supported him and loved him, or did he feel like the world was turning against him?
Now, I would say we started to surround him with that. Like, if you look, there was a period where I think he didn't feel that. And I felt like he was like, I need this, right? So there were certain people that he started to reach out to put their arms around him, and he started to feel that. That's why he would do a summer jam with Jay-Z. It was really like he knew, like, I need people to have my back in this. And then certain people did wrap their arms around him.
Yeah.
And as things progressed, the one thing I can tell you about Michael that I started to learn was his family was strong. Like, his family, like, when they got together and wore all that white, they were wearing those white, going into court each day, you saw that unity in a different type of light. You're like, oh, yo, these Jacksons, they're not playing around with this. They unified. And I think that helped him, even though he was, like, probably going through it mentally weak and all of that. And it's tough when you know you pretty much own something that everybody wants.
Yeah.
Damn.
Man, so after all that, John Keith, what you got going on over there?
That's
That's
crazy.
I ain't even ready to get to you yet. To be honest with you. But go ahead. But go ahead. I got you. We gonna get to you. But you gotta sit here and listen. 'Cause we ain't never interviewed.
I prefer that. I don't want to go after Michael. That's crazy.
I got you.
Now you also helped shape the sound of early Destiny's Child.
Yeah.
Did you see Beyonce becoming the Beyonce we now know back then?
Yeah, 100%. From the first session. Say My Name was our first session. And then, we worked together again. And when I got to Deja Vu with her and Jay, that's when I really knew. I saw the difference, right? Because in the group format, she still was in the group. So she might have been like somewhat, if you really look at Destiny Child as the group, they never really showed her as the leader. You know how you hear certain groups and like that's the leader? No, they was kind of trying to position them somewhat like a Boys and Men where they all could do their thing.
Yeah.
But we saw the leadership qualities when we worked with her, right? But when I got to Deja Vu, bro, I remember playing her the demo to Deja Vu for the first time. When the song went off, she was already telling me her visual for the visuals.
Wow.
So she was like, this is how I see it. I'm going to put Jay on it. Like she was telling, I was like, she reminded me so much of Michael was scary. Like at that time, I was like, yo, she just came into her own like Mike. Like she's now, I could just see the elevation of that. You know what I mean? Like really quickly. I
want to ask, out of all, besides Whitney and Michael Jackson, who is one of your best artists to work with? Like, the timing, the fact that they're there all the time, they're going to grind it out, they're amazing vocalists. Who is that next person, of course, besides Beyonce?
Probably Brandy, I would think.
Why you say
that's
that?
my girl.
Yeah, like
take us into a session with Brandy.
Yeah.
It was just like, with Brandy, it was the regiment that she had that was interesting, right? Especially when I was doing Never Say Never, but Full Moon especially, like she was playing tennis with Serena Williams before the session every day, right? Which was interesting.
Sounds crazy.
Yeah,
you got so many stories, guys.
Yeah, she was practicing with Serena every day, and she would come in the studio. Shout out to my man Paris Davis because he was the A&R, like a real A&R cat, right? And he had her. He was the one that said you need to be playing tennis. So he had her playing tennis early in the morning. Come in the studio, and John can tell you as an artist, nowadays, artists can do a song in one day. They done. They in and out. A few hours, it's done. We was doing songs. It was taking us 3-4 days. We really working on backgrounds just on one day. I remember times when a lot of artists would actually be like, yo, Rodney, please let me, I'm tired. I'm like, we ain't done. Like, it's not right yet. Until we get this thing right, we're not done. Brandy was one of those artists that would go the full length and not complain about it. Mike would even sometimes complain, like, Rodney, I'm getting hoarse. Like, his vocal coach would call me, Seth Reeves would call me, like, you're working them too hard, Rodney, you're working too hard. And I'm like, yo, we're working on music, working on the song, bro. Like, that's what we do.
How does that affect you now with these new artists, right? Because they're not staying in the studio that long, hour or two. So how do you still have that same conversation with a new artist and say, nah, I need you to come back. I need you to stay longer. It's not happening.
And then,
That
like you
happens.
said, you used to be like, look, we're not done. So, and your artists stay there because they know the work and dedication is going to make for great music.
Yeah.
You tell one of these, new artists that
They don't
it's
even know.
like,
They don't
no.
even know what. They don't even know what 8 to 10 hour, 12 hour. There was times, me personally, I stay in the studio. People know, like I wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
I'd be there 2-3 days straight. People like after 3-4 hours, they kind of like, yo, it's time to
Tapped
go.
out.
So the music is worse.
I'm like,
In
yo,
your
that's
opinion.
not even like a 9 to 5 though.
Yeah.
Like you think about it, like if you was working, like you're not even giving your full 9 to 5 right now. So I don't know when that shift happened exactly. I think like maybe hip hop caused it. You know what I mean? Or maybe when we hear stories of like when Lil Wayne says, yo, I'm working on this album from the hotel. It may have created a narrative like, yo, I don't need to go in the studio in the booth anymore. I could just do like he did a record right out of his car that's fired. Like they, maybe that's what happened. Like something had to shift. Technology.
So what does it take to build a superstar in today's game when the attention span is so short and most of these guys and girls already think they're a brand?
I try to encourage artists to do what I was taught, and that's study. Like study everybody before you, like know the errors of music and go deep into it, understanding what it takes to be great, right? It's not just like, I got a song that's dope and it's popping, or I'm gonna do this TikTok video, da-da-da-da. Like that's gonna come, it's gonna go. But if you really study and understand, like there's a reason why a Michael was a Michael, because he looked at Jackie Wilson and James Brown and he was like, okay, I'm gonna add that to my repertoire, right? And I'm gonna learn how to do what they do and take it to the next level. Nowadays, like I think artists are looking at each other around and saying, yo, I got something hotter than that, or I need to get a feature. Like instead of really going back and be like, yo, I want to know why this person sold 60 million. Like why would Thriller sell 60 million albums? There's a reason. It was great.
Yeah.
100 million.
The quality, there's 100 now, right?
Yes.
Dang, 40, that's crazy when you think about it. Like when we was talking about it, it was at 60, and that was like 15 years ago. Now it's at 100. But the reason why is because you had these geniuses, right? Not just Quincy and Mike, Bruce Sweeting on the mixing, the best musicians in the world. Like they cared. It wasn't about, let me just get my homie to play guitar on this part right here. Nah, I need David Williams to play. I need the best. Like he got to be close to Prince to play on this song. And that's what we missing.
So who are you studying, Mr. Keith?
Man, you know what I'm saying? Now, you know what I'm saying, after linking up with Rodney, it's kind of like where I really started my study journey. You know what I'm saying? So like I just texted him the other day. I was like, hey man, what are the best Michael Jackson documentaries? You know what I'm saying? He was like, the one I'm in, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
You know what I'm saying? I've been, you know what I'm saying? I've been looking at the Beatles. I've been looking at Michael Jackson recently. A lot of because of what, you know what I'm saying, he talks about with his competitive spirit and like his drive to just be great, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I've been recently. Yeah.
Where you from?
I'm from San Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah, California.
Yeah.
Are labels still investing in artist development the way they used to? Or is that like the responsibility of people like you now, Rodney, as a producer or like the manager?
Labels don't do that.
All right.
Like I don't even know the last time I really had a real A&R conversation with a label. Like a real, like, back in the day, the A&Rs get involved and really help shape what it's going to look like. Nowadays, it's just like digital research.
Well, yeah, they chasing numbers now.
Yeah, like the
They
numbers, it's the numbers. And by the way, we can't blame the A&Rs. So let's put this out there. No, you can't. Because everything starts with the top down. You're going from the top. So it's whatever the mandate of the top is telling you. The mandate is, we don't need 17 creative A&Rs anymore. I remember when I worked at Def Jam with under Jay in LA, there was 17 A&Rs in a room, right? Creatives. The top says we don't need 17 in a room. We need 10 digital researchers.
But then you look at a label like TDE, who is basically an A&R.
That's independent.
What is the digital research?
That's the difference.
Just searching numbers.
That's the difference. That's independent, right? The independent labels all day long. We gonna do that for him, for our artists, right? But those major labels, that's why they do deals with a TDE.
Right, because they're doing the
They like, yo,
work.
you guys do that. We don't. You guys do that. We just only thing we really care about is those numbers.
But
market share is the key
right
to these major labels.
But then
That's
you look
it.
at what Timbaland did. Do you agree with Timbaland did? Said he's signing his first AI artist, which is a fake artist. He's basically making a beat. Do you agree with that? Because that takes away from the creative process. That takes away from what he's doing. Because he can make him.
You don't think Timbaland has to be creative to do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
100% he has to be creative to do that, right? If I think we get into the point where the music industry is becoming funny, right? Remember Kanye did a song, he was talking about like poop, and whatever.
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo.
One of the best beats ever, though.
What he was basically saying, what he was basically saying was like, I could say anything and y'all fools is gonna buy it. Because y'all, this is where we're at, right?
It's a top 20 record, by the way, too.
Yep.
Crazy.
There you go.
I didn't play it one time.
That's where we at though. Like, but I think what Timbaland's doing with the AI thing is like he's figured out a tool. It's a tool, right? He's figured out. I think people are scared. They're scared to death of AI, like it's going to replace human. Oh, it's not, because you still have to control it. You still have to be the one to do the prompts. It's still an art form. I can't just. It's not just waking up like I'm the new Charlamagne. I'm AI. Yeah. It's not that. It's not that. You have to literally. You have to be almost a. You have to be an incredible prompter to be able to make it do some incredible things.
But somebody would say, if you put all that effort into AI, why not put it into an artist?
Artists sometimes talk back.
Dang.
Damn.
Listen.
John?
But that's been the backlash, though. I saw an artist say exactly what you just said. They said they don't want us talking back anymore.
Listen. I talked to Timbaland in depth about this. I can't wait to see what he does with this, right?
Timbaland's a genius.
He's a genius, so I can't wait to see what. But I think a lot of times, like, I think he's at a place in his life where he's just like, yo, I need to be just doing what I feel I want to do differently. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I got the energy to be dealing with some of the stuff that I've been dealing with.
It's true.
You know, and the labels and all that. I just, I'm gonna just do this and I'm gonna tell this thing exactly what I needed to do, and whatever it does, it does. If it wins, it wins. If it don't, it don't. I don't think he's caring like that.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to make a hit regardless, right? And it's gonna be even harder when people know it's coming from AI, because the consumer is already gonna put a force field up to reject it. They're not gonna even want to consume it properly because it's AI. They're not even gonna give it an honest ear.
So I feel like he shouldn't have said nothing. I
There
feel
you
like
go.
he should have just put it out.
I'm 100% in agreement. Like sometimes the Bible says, "Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing." Sometimes you just gotta go.
Yeah.
Let people hear it, then they be like, "Oh, that was dope." Then after the fact, you're like, "Oh shit, I didn't know that was AI."
Right.
Do you think timeless music can still break through in this world that rewards the microwave success and the algorithm wins?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think when you really put your heart into something, there's still a thing. I still believe that there's people that relate, and there's relatable content, relatable subjects, relatable things that we go through on a daily basis. And when you put your heart into it, I think there's people waiting for that. I just think that we've been part of the problem of not giving it anymore, right? Us producers, the labels, you need the independent labels to now stand up to be able to give that.
So if a young producer came to you right now and they was like, "Yo, how do I create my own brand? How do I create my own Beyonce in this era?" Is there a blueprint for that?
Didn't Jay-Z say, like, if you made a hole, make another hole?
Yeah.
There's no blueprint, right? You just got to work hard and put the effort. If that's something that you really want to try to do, I just think, again, it goes back to you got to study the craft, right? And go hard and see what you can come up with, and be patient, because I think the thing is, everybody wants the quick thing right now. Tomorrow we got to be this tomorrow. Nah, like some stuff takes 2, 3, 4 years. You got to be patient, you know?
Now we got, remember back in the day you used to be able to buy like albums and everything like that. Now everything is new. Like with technology, we got streaming now. How does that affect songwriting and like splits for songwriters and producers and everything?
Terrible.
Damn.
Terrible. On the songwriting side, there's 2 components, right? You have the master side, which is great. Then you have the publishing side. On the streaming side, it's terrible. Listen, I'm an advocate against what's going on. There's no reason why, if I got a record and it does 1 billion streams and I have the publishing on it, I should be able to buy a house from that. Wouldn't you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 billion streams? I couldn't even probably pay too much of an apartment
Crazy.
Off
rent
a billion streams.
off 1 billion streams with publishing. That's facts. It's so lopsided. That's why I still believe in radio. I tell him in a heartbeat, like, yo, he got a song at like number 24 mainstream right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, bro, don't just run away from that. Like that's you're gonna reap those benefits real soon. We start
Radio
seeing
checks
those
way
roll.
bigger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna be like, dang, I didn't realize. Like I've seen people like literally myself make a living off of radio. I'm like, man, it's like the streaming world. It's like night and day.
But somewhere along the line, people don't. I don't know where the disconnect is, but radio royalties pay way more than streaming ever could.
Ever.
So I don't understand why you're not telling your artists make records for radio.
I say it because I believe that it's still a road to discovery. So no matter what, like, yo, you make a hot record, yeah, of course, this generation is going to Spotify and Apple Music and seeing the streams and getting excited, right? And it's great. But at the same time, you got mouths to feed.
Yeah.
You got, and so you don't just, oh, I ain't doing this for radio no more. Come on.
So that's why you feel like songwriters like a Money Long and a Neo, they keep songs for themselves. You know what I mean? Because they're not making no money writing, for these new artists. So that's probably why.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you feel disrespected when you heard Jess Hilarious' rendition of The Boy's Mind?
No.
The Job Is Mine.
Nah.
Jess and Loren.
Nah, thank
Jess
you.
and Loren, when they did the rendition of The
Thank
Job
you.
Is Mine.
Thank you. Nah.
I was messing
I
with
think
you.
I thought it was hilarious. No, but I thought it was hilarious. Yeah.
Thank you. I
We need a little
appreciate
more auto-tune. Auto-tune was set wrong. But next time I call the producer, I'll get you
we should
straight.
call you.
I'll get you straight next time.
All right, thank you.
What was the one record that you were surprised took off the way that it was?
It might have been that one.
The Boy's Mind.
Yeah, because we were going through this battle when I was doing the Never Say Never project. You understand? I was a kid, bro.
Yeah.
So there was some people that didn't believe that I should do the whole album, executive produce the whole album. And I'm in there and I'm like, and I'm young, but I'm super confident. Like, y'all are tripping. Like, this is fire. And they was telling me, this is crazy. They were telling me at the end of the project, they were like, so yeah, we got to go fly down to Atlanta to work with JD to get a single. We got to go, then we're going to do Wyclef to get a single. And I was like, in the studio, you kind of feel disrespected, especially when you've done like 9 songs. So you trying to tell me we just did 9 songs and you telling me I don't got the first single? And this is my body of work that I'm putting my energy, and I don't got the first single? I swear on everything I love, I packed my bags up and went home from LA. I went back to Jersey, and I said, y'all figure it out.
Damn.
And then they called back and was like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
I was like, y'all a trip. We got singles left and right. Just put them things out.
What was the 9 you recorded already? What was some of the ones you recorded already?
Top of the World with Mace.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The Boy's Mine,
Oh,
which
wow.
was early on in the project. I mean, we had Angel in the Sky. I did
All
pretty
that.
much everything.
How did The Boy's Mind? Was that your idea, and how did that come about? How did you get them both together?
The Boy's Mine. It's funny. I was just again at my dad's house, and I was like playing this harp sound, and I was like, again, it goes back to studying, right? Nobody used a harp sound in urban music but when they used it one way. Chucky Thompson and different producers like Dave Hall back in the day and the Untouchables, they used the harp sound like, it's called gliss, like it would come down like a gliss. I heard it and I liked the sound of it. I was like, what if I made it like rhythmic? And I broke it into rhythm. So I just started doing it, and my dad came down with a little tape recorder. He used to always have a little tape recorder. He'd be like, that's incredible. You gotta lay that. And then I laid it down. And Paris Davis, Brandy's A&R, he heard, and we did it on, we recorded it on Brandy, and he was like, yo, what if we put Monica on this? And at that time, Monica and Brandy, they were kind of didn't like each other.
Right.
It was definitely a feud between the two. And I was like, oh, that's never gonna happen. Knowing Brandy and knowing how that's never gonna happen. He's like, nah, I think it can happen. Like, if I get you on the phone with Dallas Austin and I was like, all right. And then next thing you know, it started to shape. And even when it came out, here's the thing. I wasn't surprised that it was going to do well. I didn't know it was going to stay number 1 for that long. It's like 13, 14 weeks number 1. Like, we did 16 million albums sold on that project.
Damn.
Wow.
So, like, those type of things for my second album was I did Gina Thompson, but my second album that I produced, executive producer, to do those numbers was kind of crazy.
You know what's crazy back then, right? Like nowadays, people manufacture the drama, then try to do the music. With that record, it was the song, the music, and then people started speculating about the drama after the fact. Like, is there really a boy that they arguing over? We know that they got beef with each other. So and plus the video.
I mean, the fact that
Crazy.
you think about them doing a tour, right? They about to do a tour together.
Yeah.
You're talking about like this. Why did they do a tour together 15 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, but you know, it's time for everything. But I get it. But like, dang, like, man, imagine them doing the tour together 15 years. That would have been crazy.
It would have been like
But this gonna be-
baddies,
this
but
gonna
for
be-
baddies.
but this gonna be
because
crazy, though.
They didn't get along.
It should be funny.
What made you and Brandy chemistry work so well?
I think my musicality. So what I did with Brandy, I would make Brandy match whatever I played. I don't know if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I played a sound, I wanted her to become the sound that I played. So I would tell her, I would be like, "You're the strings now. Like, I'm gonna play the strings, but I need you to be the string." And she did it incredibly well. Like, I feel like when she cut her vocals, like the warmth that come out of her voice is just different. Her tone, bar none, is probably the best tone we've probably ever heard in the longest time, right? I always say, like, for me, it's Jasmine Sullivan and Brandy, like those tones, those warm tones.
Wow.
And and it just like, I feel like within the first hour of a session whether it's gonna go right or it's gonna go left. And when we got in, you just knew, like, we did 5 songs in the first 5 days. The first 5 songs on Never Say Never we did in the first 5 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anybody you ever worked with in the studio when you've been in there for an hour and it didn't go right and you was like,
That happens.
Ooh.
You're looking for something.
Ooh. I just wanted to know,
It happens.
All right.
It does. It happens all the time. Like, like, you go, like, I'll finish the session, but I'll be like, man, I wish it could have went better. Like, I know, like, out the gate, like, it was just cool. It was all right. It wasn't, it could have went better. And sometimes I'll be like, I would like to do a re-up on that. Because a lot of it is psychology. Like, when you're working with people, you got to kind of understand, like, and also timing. Like, imagine you working with somebody, but that ain't the best day to work with them.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got them that day. And back in the day was really tough for us, right? Because sometimes, like, when I did Say My Name, for example, Say My Name with Destiny Child, I only had them for a day.
Wow.
So it was like one of those things where you got, you got
right.
Destiny Child for a day, or you got Kirk Franklin for a day. Like, I'm like, all right, I got to go and I got to show up and show out in one day, right? And you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Was there ever an artist you worked with who completely surprised you in the booth? Like somebody whose talent just hit different when they got on the mic?
I think SZA's underestimated. Like I think sometimes, like, artists will vocalize based on what's hot, on what's going on, when there's so much more there. They just not giving it because they don't have to. Right? I think there's a lot more there.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times when I work with SZA, a lot of times I actually would get some Brandy out of it. I'd be like, it's kind of giving me like Brandy, look like some of the stuff she done, like some Brandy might have would have done. But then
Like her runs.
yeah, it's just certain little things, just little nuances that I'm like, oh, that's something. But I don't know that she fully even yet knows that she can even go somewhere else.
Right. I think SZA's one of those people that the more she does the work personally, like to improve her mental and emotional well-being, it's going to translate to the music.
And the question is, like, well, at least for me, this is what I believe. I just believe that don't happen unless you find God. I believe I believe there's only is real simple. Unless, and I'm not saying she don't know God or had an experience with God, so don't get that part twisted. But I believe, like, in order for us to mentally be at our best state is when we know God. Right? Because the Bible says that he's not the author of confusion. So, and you got to have a sober mind, right? Your mind got to be on point, and that only comes from a real understanding, a real relationship. I think people have twisted the narrative too much of religious. Oh, that's religion. Well, that ain't got nothing to do with nothing.
Yeah.
It's relationship. Like, what's your relationship like? I have a great relationship with my 4 kids, right? I got 2 boys, 2 girls. I have a great relationship. I'm their father. I have a father, a heavenly father. I have a great relationship with. It ain't religious. It's just like I know how to talk to him, and I hear him speak to me. As simple as that. So I feel like when you have that relationship, it creates clear path for the things that you create and the things that you want to do.
At one time, I feel like maybe it's just me. Do you feel like you were oversaturated at one point?
100%.
Like it was just so much. You were doing remixes.
I burnt myself
you
out.
jumping to hip hop, R&B, and then it just stopped. It just felt like it stopped.
Yeah.
What happened
The
during that
stop
time?
was when I stopped.
So what happened during that time?
I can tell you when it happened. It was after Michael too. Like I needed a break before Michael. I was just talking about this. Like it was a moment where like the phone is ringing and everybody's calling you, and you've made it, but you're trying to please everybody. The industry is like knocking at the door. We got this. We got this. We're gonna do this remix. Can you be it? And you just like me. I'm so creative. I could do 9-10 tracks in a day. Like it's easy for me. So it became like, I could put me in the studio song. So I got that. So 365 days out the year, I'm in the lab, right? My catalog is thick.
Yeah.
Like people don't even understand. Like we talk about songs that come out, but nobody understands the songs that no one's ever heard, the unreleased gems,
like
right?
The underground versus the
yes,
crazy
people don't
women.
understand like all of that, right? And then it comes to a point where it's like what he just said, like mentally you start feeling like you have nothing left. And that's when you have to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? And there's this knock. And it's not me knocking, it's God knocking. Like you're giving too much attention to everybody else. You put too much into this industry and not into me. And God showed me at an early age that man will always let you down. But he never leaves us. He never forsakes. He's always knocking. Even when we go astray. Even when I always try to put things in analogy of my kids. Even when I tell my kids, don't go over there, but they still do it. Right? It doesn't mean I'm not chasing them. I'm still going to get them. That's how he is with us. Like, yeah, I see you over there, you doing that, but I got something bigger for you. You burnt yourself out because you didn't want to listen to me. I could show you how to do things with balance. Knock on the door, come and get me, and then I have to submit to it. And then when I submit to it, I see my life change in a whole different way. And now my creativity is on a different level. It's beyond music. Music is just a little small piece of everything. But it showed me something way greater through my family.
Did the deaths of Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston, did that bring you closer to God as well?
Yeah, I was really kind of really more hurt when Biggie passed.
Wow.
I remember being in LA when that happened, and I was like, I gotta go home, man. Like this is just too much.
Yeah.
Like this industry, I think creates that sometimes. The pressure of the industry, us people, the biggest problem that we have in this music industry is one of the toughest sins. It's called vanity. I remember one time, right? I'm a big guy. I remember one time I was like getting myself together, right? And I'm working hard. I think it's like 2016. I'm running the mountains. I'm doing everything. I'm dropping. And I remember I'm on FaceTime. I hit Mike Tyson one time with one of my best friends. And I said, yeah. Like, he see me. He like, but don't get it twisted, brother. So he said, don't get it twisted, brother. I said, what? He's like, vanity will kill you. He told me that, and the thing hit me so hard. Because I was like, yo, that's what our industry is built on. Everybody that does what they do, all these pictures on the wall, they smile in a lot of these pictures, but when they go home, they crying. They go home, they lonely. They go home, they looking at the wall and like, listen, they stressed out because they had to put the thing on.
The mask.
They had to put it on. You know? And that's why at least I tell people, listen, let's stop playing around with this now. Like, we've been here long enough, and I say that to y'all. Y'all been here long enough. Y'all know what it is to get up early in the morning, come to work, do what you got to do, right? Can't tell me that it ain't no pressure in it, that it's just easy. I'm just going to wake up and do my thing. No. So I tell people, like, yo, what's your relationship like with God? Not no religious stuff. What's your relationship like? Because if you're not tapped in, you're not living your best. You can lie, put the smile on and be like, living my best life. No, you're not. If you're not really tapped in, if you don't know what's to come to tomorrow, Proverbs says this. It says, don't boast about what you got today because you don't know what's to come tomorrow.
Facts.
That's the vanity part. Yo, I'm killing it right now. How many times we heard that and then the next day, like, where'd they go? Where's the song?
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Puffing our chests out. God don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
He wants us actually to be humble, right? Y'all got the Pride Month thing happen, right? Well, really, if you want to get technical, the Bible said pride comes before the fall.
Mm.
So if we puff out with pride too much, we bound to fall. And how many times you seen somebody puff their chest out and then what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all seeing it right now, real time.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
literally.
Real time.
Yep.
So, I think there's rules. There's rules that God wanted to establish as a father to his children. That's what I believe. Just the same way you would to your children.
Mm-hmm.
And those rules, we sometimes look at them like, I ain't doing that. You got too many laws.
Mm-hmm.
You got, why is there so many rules? Because he know how he's going to act.
Have you ever thought, like, I want to change my name to the Light Child, maybe?
No.
Yo, I wrestle with that. Not Light Child. Not
But
Light
it's
Child.
something,
Not Light Child.
It's not dark.
Not Light Child, but you know what? Because I never call myself Dark Child based on dark like that. That wasn't the intentions, right? It was, some people thought it was because I was dark skinned. Me, I knew it where it came from. It came from the chords that I used to play as a kid, these minor chords. But it's funny, sometimes I sit and I wrestle with them like, yo, like, will they see that in the wrong light, in the wrong way? Mm-hmm. And I wrestle with that sometimes.
Can you work with an artist if you don't see God in them?
Right now, it's different for me.
Yeah.
There was a time where, like, I would have been straddling that fence over and over again because I didn't look at it for what it was. And I think over the last 2 years, there's been a new birth that happened. Like, I get it now. When Jesus told Nicodemus, he said, you got to be born again. I get it now. Like, and even Nicodemus like, what, born again? What you mean by that? What you mean? Like, out the womb born? Like, how does that happen? No, like, born again in your spirit. Like, you have to be born again. And so there's a lot of times people will call me all the time. Yo, I could show you. I just got a call to get in the studio with an artist. And I was like, nah, I can't do that. I can't do that. Why? It's not where I'm
spirit
at.
don't align with it.
Now, what I can do and what I will continue to do is speak what I believe is true. So I had an artist one time, I had someone call me recently about an artist coming to my studio. And I said, when they leave, if I do a record with them, it might not be the record they expect to do. They're like, what? I was like, yeah, I guess real over here. And I said, they said, well, how real is that? I said, well, every 2 weeks we do a thing called Worship Alive at my studio, where we have kind of church in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And you experienced it. Yep. And they're like, you do that? I'm like, yeah. Like, it's really real. Like, I want to see people changed. And you can't see people change unless you change. Mm-hmm. And I'm a work in progress. We all are. We all are, right? Mm-hmm. We all are work in progress. We sin daily. So, but I believe that there's hope for people. I believe I want to see people's relationships form with their Father, with their Creator.
So are you a faith artist? Because I know the Aliens Alive is a faith label.
Yeah. So I'm a Christian artist. I mean, I was raised in the church. You know what I'm saying? My father he's a pastor now, but that's kind of new. But he's always been in some kind of leadership in the church. Mm-hmm. But even like for me, like I got no hobbies. I do music and I'm a Bible nerd. That's it. Mm-hmm. I don't do sports. I don't do video games. Like that's it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, proudly a Christian artist.
What did you see in John that said I want to work with him?
I think he wanted to kill himself. And when you get to a vulnerable state in your music, sometimes it goes over people's heads. And when I heard some of the things that he was saying, I was like, whoa, like he's special. Like this dude right here is special. He just needs the right team with him. And and he keeps getting better. He's not just a rapper, a singer. Like musician, does all his music, produces everything, the whole nine. Like he's a beast. But I heard his heart in his music, and I heard something that could penetrate the youth differently. Because I believe people go through things and they just don't talk about it. And here's my question, right? I got a question, right? Why is it so quick? Like when we think about radio, why is it so quick that we are so quick to play music from people who play their experiences or what they go through, what their lifestyle is? But when someone on the faith side, it's hard to play that. Why is that? What's the factor of it, right? So, because people used to say, "Oh yeah, well that's cheesy," that's what or that's corny, right? And I was like, well then I'm going to be the difference maker in that, and I'm going to find some artists that ain't corny, that y'all can bob your heads to, still listen to, still groove to, but they got a message with it, right? So then when I came across, I was like, he's one of them ones. He's telling you his story, telling you what he's gone through. He's telling you that what he was literally about to do in his life and where the change came. It didn't come from just sitting down and getting some help from talking to somebody. It came from him, what he used to say, a Bible nerd, digging deep into his word, right? And so, and if that becomes the ultimate change, how can that help someone else?
I mean, but honestly, that's what we kind of grew up on. Like when you think about like the artists we grew up on, like they were doing that. Like it may have been in a street form or whatever you want to call it, but if you actually listening to the music, there's a lot of socially redeeming value in their music.
But why don't they play it? Why don't they play the ones? So is it because they edify Christ? Is that the reason why? Are we so lost? Are we so lost that when someone's their reality is what his reality may be, what he feels Jesus did for him, right? And in redeeming his life. If that's his reality and he's speaking on it, why can't we play that?
Well, I think that if DJs and program directors, if they actually had their hearts open and not their pockets and not dealing with industry politics, they probably would accept more of that, because there's plenty of it. Like, you know, you have the Rhapsodies, you know, you have the Kendrick's last album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Like, that was an incredible,
But then we got songs
testimony.
too. You got Lil Baby and Kirk Franklin. You got Glorilla and
new record,
Kirk Franklin. And it was good seeing it at the BET Awards where the gospel category had rappers doing gospel.
But to his point, radio isn't playing that.
Stop, man. Nah.
It's not.
Stop.
Point radio.
No. But what I mean by stop is like, see, I don't like that. I'm going to tell you why I don't like that. Because you can't go and do 90% of something and then say, okay, I'm going to do 10% of this, and then I'm going to go win the awards with the 10% that I do, when you got dudes doing it every single day, and it's their lifestyle.
I don't disagree with that, but to your point, we're all works in progress. And what if that's God's way of saying, look, you doing all of this, but you don't get no rewards for it. But you did this record and you got rewarded for it. What if that makes that person go more in that direction?
It's like God, the medicine and the candy. What you trying to say, right?
God ain't concerned about no rewards. You really think God is concerned about you think he's concerned about a Songwriters Hall of Fame for me? You really think that? Be honest.
Or a trophy or something.
Why do you think that?
Because I think that you it's your testimony, right? You've told us how you've opened up to God, and you know you've given your life to God, and you're continuing to be rewarded for it. And I think that will make people be like, damn, I want to do what he's doing. It's not just about beats. It's about the work he's done on himself spiritually.
I'm glad you think that. I don't think that. And I'll tell you why. This is what I believe. When you play a basketball game, right? A team that's playing basketball, there's no reason to play on a team. Let's say in any NBA team, there's no really reason to play unless the goal is to get to the finals. We've put too much on our finals being here on earth. If our finals was really predicated, and which it really is, on eternal, we would play the game differently. I personally don't think that God is really concerned about the reward. I think he's concerned about the ultimate reward in heaven that he wants to give his children. In the book of James, it talks about enduring, right? We're all in this race, right? Trying to make it, trying to live our lives and do whatever, but this is not the ultimate ending. Like, some people just think it ends and it's over. No, there's an eternal he promises it. So you show me where in his word where he states things that didn't happen?
What do you mean?
You show me in the Bible where things that were talked about, right, that didn't happen. It happened. Like if they said it was going to be a storm,
Yeah.
it's factually happened. If they said it factually happened. There were people that literally, if you talked about certain things right now and I witnessed it, and then I can go back and write about it. Like, yeah, Charlamagne said that's what happened. Like people like John was sitting there.
But that's like your dreams. Like God showed you Michael Jackson. And
Right.
you went to go work with Michael Jackson. And you were rewarded for that.
See, you got the reward wrong.
No, you got a reward of a relationship with Michael.
My reward was when Michael called me to pray for him. In 2003, I'm in the studio with Chris Tucker and my father. We at the studio. Michael was going through that trial.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, where are you? I said, he said, can I come? I just need prayer. That's the reward. Mm-hmm. All the accolades, it just comes and all that, that's what the world sees. But now that I'm older and look back, I'm like, yo, the ultimate reward, and I'm blessed to have all these stories, right? But the ultimate reward was the time that we prayed together. The ultimate reward is when I go to his funeral and Sandra Crouch and Seth Riggs, his vocal coach, says, yeah, Michael received Christ 2 weeks ago. He had us pray. He did the sinner's prayer. That's the reward. That's what I'm trying to get everybody to understand.
But you don't get. I agree. I agree with everything you're saying. But how do we know that God didn't connect you and Michael for that reason?
He might have.
That's what I'm saying. And even now, God has expanded your territory so much that you are Rodney, Darkchild, Jerkins. Your testimony hits different, my brother. When you on the microphone telling people that they need to find God and these are the reasons why, their ears are open a little bit more.
Facts.
But their ears are open because of the work that you did with everybody else. That's why you always say, we always talk about putting the medicine in the candy.
Yeah.
But let me ask you.
I love debates about God, by the way.
Yeah.
You say what?
I love debates about God.
Well, anytime. I'll give you my number. We can hang.
Absolutely.
Did you sell your catalog?
If you loved it, that means you're being called. But go ahead.
Did you sell your catalog?
Yeah.
Jesus
Several
Christ,
times.
Envy.
Several times.
Recently.
Listen, nobody worried about God. It's not about God.
Several
Did you sell your
times.
catalog?
No. The reason I ask is recently they said that you sold your catalog. And why, you talk about owning yourself,
Several
your stuff
times.
so
Several
much.
times. Several times.
Why?
Several times. Because I know things that they don't teach y'all. I know things that most people don't know. I know that there's a 35-year copyright law, which after 35 years, what's mine comes back to me. I know that in any business, you're a businessman. In any business, you build an asset, right? And when you build an asset, when you get a multiple that you're satisfied with, you make that move and you take that and you invest in other things, right? So where they've been getting people at for years is telling people wait till they're old and decrepit until they sell their catalog. That's the wrong narrative, right? They've done that to every. I know a friend of mine has sold his catalog several times, and how he every time you get a 3-year MPS, which means good numbers, 3 years of good numbers. There's people that want to buy that, right? So let me ask you a question. If it takes me 80 years, let's say I'm making $1 million a year, and I'm 20 years old, I'm making $1 million a year, and you give me $80 million at 20 years old, I would have been 100 years old to get that 80 million.
Damn.
Give me the 80 now.
Right.
I know what to do with that. I know what to invest in. Give me that now. So I tell people what the real is and what they should know. And they should all and one thing that people don't really talk about is copyright law. A lot of people don't even understand that there is a U.S. copyright law. And every 35 years, you have to do the work and put the things in motion, but you get your copyrights back. Now, all my artists that are signed to my label, they own their masters. You feel what I'm saying? And I want him to do the same. I want to be able to tell him when it's time, it's time for you to let that go. Well, why? Because you got a family and you got things that you want to do. And trust me, I've done this over and over again. And what people don't realize is that a lot of times the press releases confuse people, right? because they'll say, oh, so-and-so sell Timberland sold his catalog, so-and-so Justin Bieber sold. People ain't selling their whole catalogs, bro. Like, people not selling with everything. Sometimes you sell increments, little things here and there, right? And you play the numbers game. You see what those multiples gonna look like, and if you do the timing of everything, you say, "Dang, okay, well I'm gonna be 90, 100 years old. I might be gone. I could do that, put that into my children now." That's how I think.
Did you give your 10% to the church?
Come on, man.
Well, Rodney got to go. He has rehearsals.
I don't even. That's a whole debate,
damn.
by the way.
No, I'm with you. I don't feel like God need no money.
That's a whole thing.
Well, can we leave on a prayer? You got any last question? Can we leave on a prayer?
No,
Now, if anybody gonna pray, gonna be let him pray.
Well, let's
This
do
is
it.
my-
Wait, hold on.
John, keep
He said,
come
I
on,
ain't
man.
gonna talk about my music.
Let him
I ain't even
pray.
get warmed up.
Oh, by the way, no, but listen, real quick though. My man John Keith, June 27, got his project coming out, and I'm super excited about his project.
We're going to get a
coming out.
song on, too, this morning.
yeah.
I've been
yeah.
listening to a lot of Faith-based artists. You know Miles Minnick?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
got a whole album
did an
together.
with him.
What? Yeah, something my guy DJ had. He put me on to Miles a while ago. And
Yeah.
I'm like, he ain't even, and the funny thing, he didn't even tell me that Miles was a faith-based artist.
Yeah.
He just said, yo, listen to this.
Yeah, Head is a big advocate of just, you know what I'm saying, putting it in front, because, you know, people got there's a stigma about Christian artists, you know what I'm saying, that they're a certain way, that they got to sound a certain way, and so, like, when you hear people that sound like Miles or sound like me or sound like Indie Tribe or No Big Deal, whatever, you know what I'm saying, like, they're like, oh, wait, hold up, this is Christian? And it's like, it's art, bro. You know what I'm
Everything you hear
saying?
from our label, you're like, dang, I didn't know it was like that. Like,
Because the thing is, it's like, you know what I'm saying, those of us who do it well are not on a mission to make a genre of Christian music. We're just making music and we're Christians. So we're not going to rap or sing about stuff that's not our life. You know what I'm saying? So, like, but that's also why, like, you know, what he said, like, in my music, I'm going to tell you, like, yeah, I was struggling with, you know, the thought to take my life since I was 11 years old. I'm going to talk about that. And it's not going to be the happy rainbows and sunshine, yo, you know what I'm saying? When you get life with Jesus, everything is just good. And it's like, nah, like, let's talk about real life, because people live real life and, you know, they don't understand what life with Jesus is like. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we fall in love, you know what I'm saying? We get angry, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? If you making music that's Christian music and it's only worship, then it's like, well, if I'm, you know what I'm saying, if I want to listen to love songs, then I got to go listen to the wildness that's out there right now. You know what I'm saying, debauchery or whatever, because ain't no love songs that, like, can still be about, you know what I'm saying, a person loving another person, but from the point of view of someone who understands that these things are echoes of God, you know? And so, yeah, you know what I'm saying, that's me. But yeah, I mean, me and Miles just did something, and then, yeah.
Well,
Can't wait to hear it.
congratulations.
Word.
Appreciate
You
it.
got your own festival, Holy Smoke?
Yeah, we got a festival, Holy Smoke. That's August 14th through 16th. It's in Nashville, Tennessee. Me and my brothers in Indie Tribe, No Big Deal, Mocha the Iceberg, Troy Deshaun, Mike LV.
it's an open invitation
Yeah.
on me. You have to experience it, because then it will make you understand what it's all about.
For real.
If y'all want to come, I got y'all.
That's the Christian weed.
I will pay for y'all to come.
You said what?
Christian weed. We
It do sound like that. It's like a
You know what's
faith-based
crazy?
weed
Holy
festival.
smoke.
You know how many people come to us? We did a year where, like, you know, because it's fully operated, it's fully artist owned and operated, right? So it's us who do it. And I'm in charge of the creative direction for it. And this year, or not this year, a couple years ago, we did like a whole like green, like kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like that was like the colors for it. Someone was like, wait, I thought y'all was Christian. Y'all are, this is a weed fest? I was like, what is a weed fest? What does that even mean? I don't know. No, it's not. No. But you know what I'm saying? A lot of people have suggested that to us. We're going to go ahead and not do it.
You know.
Keep Jess away there. Keep Jess away.
I respect the John. You're right.
Well, let's play a record, man. What you want to hear?
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't know what that's out.
Whatever y'all
What you want to hear?
You want to
Man.
Play the record
Club,
that's on the
man.
charts. Play the record that's on the charts.
All right, okay.
That's the radio side.
We can do club.
It's a song with him and Miles Minnick
Yo.
from the West Indies project called Club.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
We'll get into it now, but now we got to close out with a prayer, brother.
Man, hey, what's up, God? No, I'm playing. Father, we thank you for this time. Just being able to sit down and talk about things that concern you, because it all concerns you, Father. So we just thank you for that. We thank you for open hearts. Just ask that you would plant any seeds that you wanted to plant during this conversation, and that you would just be present with us the rest of the day. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
Rodney Jerkins, the legend, man. Congratulations again, Songwriters Hall of Fame.
John Keith,
Yes,
Rodney
sir.
Jerkins.
Thank you.
It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.